In the last episode, we covered the bodywork and body flaws, and I covered any holes and scratches that surfaced during the bodywork when I primered it, and then I refilled it with putty. Plus, I still wasn't quite sure with the final paint color, so in this episode, I will unveil the color I chose, and I'm going to show you how I applied to my model and what airbrush equipment I use. This color came out so sick, and I'm so excited to show you guys. I've also selected different parts of this build to match the same color that I'm using for the body, just to give it some variety. And that means the interior, like the steering wheel, center console, grill speakers, side mirrors, and maybe some suspension parts. Let's get it. Finally, the color I chose is candy purple with a silver base and some rainbow color flake. And just to let you know, this is an automotive type base paint, okay? It's not a hobby paint. So if you're not ready for automotive style paint, I would suggest you work your way up and then just watch some of my videos in order to prep you to get ready to start spraying high quality paint. It's pretty expensive, so you don't want to waste money on something you don't know how to spray. I use Tamiya's paint stands, and these are perfect for holding any car body you want to paint with. It'll adjust to your tension that best suits your needs. So, and it also comes with clips to hold any plastic pieces you want to paint individually. You can find these on Amazon or your local hobby store. I've had this airbrush for about 3 years and it has never failed on me. The only parts that wear and tear are pretty much the 0.5 nozzle and the needle, and these are easily replaceable at your local hobby shop or any auto paint shop. It comes with all the tools you need, with accessories like 3 paint cups, a tool key to remove the nozzle cap for daily maintenance. I use my airbrush for pretty much every paint project. It's got a medium to wide fan spray, and it will operate under 10 to 20 pounds of pressure, but I like to step it up a notch. I like to keep it at 35 to 40 pounds of pressure for that extra heavy flow. And it performs pretty well. It never gives me runs or issues. You just have to learn to keep a steady hand and a perfect distance from your subject when you're using your airbrush. Now I'm getting my parts ready to paint with primer. I'm doing all with the small little pieces first. Just adding light mist coats of primer. You don't need to do anything heavy on it. I got a little frustrated with it, so I went ahead and just picked each individual part by itself, and I'm just gonna hold it and primer it first. Just light mist. You don't have to do anything heavy. You don't want to apply too many layers of paint at the beginning because you still have your base color and also your top coat color, and also the high gloss, which is the very last step. Got my side mirrors here. These are also going to look really great. I was undecisive whether to paint the color that I'm going to use or if I should use carbon fiber, but I said I kind of do a lot of things carbon fiber, so I'm going to do this the side mirrors, just the color that I chose, basically, so the purple. I thought the grill speakers were also going to look nice in the candy purple, so that's going to look hot. I'm doing the steering wheel too, so what I'm going to do is I will paint it the whole steering wheel candy purple, but once it's all done and dried, I will mask it off and probably use some carbon fiber accents with some decals. So right now I'm painting it all, but watch until the end. I will show you how to add the carbon fiber pieces to it. I'm also doing the center console. I'm painting the whole thing, so just paint your whole pieces first and then come back later when it's all done and dry if you want to add different colors to it. In this case, I'm just going to paint the whole center console, but I will add like carbon fiber trim just to give it an offset, just 2 different colors. I love Tamiya's Fine Surface Primer, so I use this primer right before I'm gonna lay on the main colors. So I will lay on the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer first, and then right after that I will do the base, whatever color base I'm using. And since I'm going with the candy setup, I'm gonna do the primer, base, and then the candy on top, and then the gloss is for the last part. I highly recommend you getting some of these pipettes. They come really handy. You can squeeze any type of paint that you need for your project. So in this case, you don't have to make a mess. Just get these pipettes, and they will easily just transfer paint over to your airbrush. Now you don't really have to overdo it to the top, just quite enough where you can still cap it off and you won't overspill. And you can go ahead and start painting primer. Now I'm not too far away, and I'm also not too close to my subject. You want nice even fan sprays, and not too dry either. If you pull too far away, it's too dry, it's too light. If you pull too close, it's too wet. So something kind of like in between, in the middle, where it's nice and wet, and the paint is even. Make sure it's even all the way around. Just turn it, take your time, get good coverage. This is pretty much your final deal. You've already done all the prep work, all the body work, and this is it. After this primer, you're not sanding it, you're not making any corrections. This is pretty much the primer that's gonna help the base color get onto it. And just make sure you get coverage. Go under the body, in the wheel wells, on top, in the bag. Don't be afraid to use the color all over the place. You'll never know where some spots you probably didn't get, and it'll probably show up later. But it's probably a good idea to cover the whole body, and including the inside of it. Now when it comes to color changes, I use a basic lacquer medium thinner. You can get that at Home Depot or Lowe's or any home improvement store. And then just go ahead and add it to your airbrush in your cup. So what I do here is that I add a good amount just so I can get that primer out and then get it ready for the next stage. I do this all the time. So when you're changing colors, just be mindful of that. Don't be afraid to use all the thinner that you need. You don't really need that much for a hobby subject. So if you're painting like a house or a bigger vehicle or whatever, you'll probably go through some cans. But I have a big 5-gallon can that only costs like $17, and it's not bad. Now I do sometimes make my own custom mixes, and this is the beauty of it. Like once you find the colors that you like working with, you can make mixes out of them, and anything that you see and that you like, you can make them pop. So what I'm gonna do is I've created this custom silver mix, and I'm gonna add it to the base Orion Silver from House of Color. What this will do is just gonna make the Orion Silver pop a little bit more. So basically my custom mix has a little bit more flake than the original House of Color Orion Silver. So I add a little bit of the custom mix to my mixie cup first. You don't have to add too much. I think I'm adding in cc's. So just a little bit, and then I'm gonna top it off with the Orion Silver on top. Now these colors, this is like a 4-ounce bottle. I get this at my local auto paint shop store. It's not really available at any hobby shop. If you're in Southern California, Pegasus is literally probably like 20 minutes away from my home. So they're probably much the only hobby store that I know that carries House of Color. Now you might want to look it up and do some research. You can probably just find it online if your hobby store doesn't carry it, depending on where you live. But I know in Southern California we have a lot of paint shops, so a lot of people do carry in stock this type of paint. And House of Color also has a medium reducer, so I will go ahead. It's a 1-1, so I'm mixing one part of the paint of my base color paint and one part of the medium reducer. So just make sure you level those out, nothing more, nothing less, and they just make sure that they're even. Now once I add that in there, I mix it up with a mixing stick and then just give it a good mix for a few seconds, maybe to a minute. And basically what I'm trying to look for is I'm trying to be careful with the mix here. So I don't want it too thick, because if it's too thick, it will not shoot through your airbrush. It's got to be a nice watery consistency. So here I'm just mixing it up and trying to get a good water-like consistency where it drips. But if it looks like it's just running down slowly through your mixing stick, it's probably too thick and it's not gonna flow correctly through your airbrush. So just keep that in mind. A couple more mixes here and it looks ready to go for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply that and add it to my mixing cup. Now I use the 6mm cup that comes in my airbrush kit for basically primers and base colors. My 15mm cup, I use it for pretty much all my glosses. So just keep that in mind. If you want to keep that same regimen, you could do that. Sometimes I just need a little bit more gloss than base color, so it just works out perfectly for me. I'm checking my consistency, making sure it's not too thick and it's flowing correctly right through my airbrush, and it looks like it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply it to all my little small pieces first, and just so I can get an idea of how the color is laying down on my primer pieces already. Now you don't have to be too far away and not too close. Like I said, just try to find a balance in the middle. You know, find somewhere where the paint is actually adhering to your piece and it's not causing runs, but it's applying nicely and it's drying off slowly. It's looking pretty good for me right here. Like, it looks like the paint is flowing. The mix was well done, so just keep going. Just make sure you get good coverage. Go under it, go on top of it, all around it. Just make sure you go back and get good coverage. There's been so many times where I've thought that I painted it correctly and I didn't. There's still an under part that I missed, and now there's like two different colors showing that are exposed, and that's just horrible. I hate that. So just make sure you get good coverage on all your pieces and just flip it around, turn it around 3-4 times if you have to. But you know, you're gonna thank yourself in the long run, because once you're done and you see that there's two colors exposed, you're pretty much, your paint project is ruined. Then I got my side mirrors next. And like I said, go through all the pieces. If you want variety, I always like to set up a plan. Like, what am I gonna paint? Am I gonna paint just the main color of the body, am I not gonna mix it up like with the other little small little pieces? To me, you get contrast, you get variety, it's not always plain and boring. You don't want to be that guy who's boring, right? So try to match other parts that are gonna complement the body well. So basically, I'm gonna use my base silver with my candy purple on top, and then all the little pieces are gonna complement it as well. So maybe my chassis is gonna be black, flat black, but my suspension parts are candy purple, and that pops. That looks hot, that looks dope. So just try to mix it up. So once again, medium reducer is for paints only. Okay, you could use it to pretty much clean your parts, but I wouldn't recommend it. It was designed to break down their paint specifically down to a T. Now, that's why I have two different lacquer thinners. This is a lacquer-based paint system, so I could use a no-name brand lacquer from any hardware store, right? But I don't, because a lacquer-based thinner is really harsh. It will destroy paint. That's why House of Color designs their own reducer, and they have them actually in different slow, medium, and high settings. So contact your local paint representative, talk to them, get some ideas. They're always helpful. They'll point you in the right direction. So when cleaning your airbrush, just always clean it with a lacquer thinner. So that way it can kill any paint in the chamber. It'll take off your needle and just run lacquer thinner through it. 100% pure lacquer thinner, not a reducer, but a lacquer thinner. And that helps you just transition over to the next paint color that you want to use. So I actually don't really have a spray paint booth. I actually live in a house, so I do a lot of my painting in my garage. I know a lot of people have the paint spray booths, and those are great, and I think those are great for people who live in apartments and don't have access to a big wide open area. So what I'm painting here is I'm just painting with my table and in front of my garage and pretty much all the gases, and make sure to wear a paint respirator. These chemicals are really highly toxic, so in the state of California, a lot of these colors are banned, so just because of the chemicals that are used in these paints. But I've been painting and breathing this stuff for so long that I don't even know if I'm sick from it or whatever, but I love doing it. But I occasionally do, even with the high gloss paint. I always use a respirator because that one's even worse. That one smells real bad and it's highly toxic. So make sure you wear a paint mask. So start with one side first. I do one side and then I move to the back. I get the bumper, I get the top part, the trunk, and then I move all the way around, and then I move over to the other side, and then I get easy, even paint coverage. And then once I do that, and then I start working my way up on the roof, and then also to the front of the hood. Steady and quick. Don't take too long, but nice and quick. That's why I love the trigger style airbrush. is probably going to be the best airbrush to lay down paint, hands down. I don't really like the other type of basic airbrushes. Those are good for small little details like the 0.3s. Mine's is a 0.5, so I get a lot of wide coverage and it paints a lot of area. And just make sure you have enough paint of the base color on your whole subject. And if you need to, you could also paint under the body as well. Like I said, try to get the wheel welds, everything, the side skirts, the underbody, everything. And just double and triple check that you have enough paint coverage on your whole subject. Guys, go ahead and subscribe if you like what you're watching and all the topics that I'm covering. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, man. I'm gonna be dropping more videos like these, and it's always a pleasure to do these for you guys. I know a lot of you guys have been following my work for a long time and definitely want to know how I do some of these paint jobs and some of my techniques. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be dropping so much more content in the future. And we just hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, so thank you so much for that. Now I'm taking apart my whole, at some point when it's been sprayed with a lot of different paints, I go ahead and attach a bottle with lacquer thinner, and I attach it into the actual insert where the cup goes, and then I spray lacquer all over it, okay? And then I take off the nozzle, and I also take off the needle, and I take off the nozzle cap, and I put it into this mixing cup. So basically, I let it soak in there with lacquer thinner so it could remove any paints that's been running through there, and it's probably been drying up, it's probably been getting stuck. You don't want that, okay? You don't want to go from one paint to another paint into another paint. Just get a little rag, get your needle, make sure you clean it. With these kind of paints, there's several different paint processes and stages. So along the way, you're gonna have to stop and make sure that your airbrush is still running optimal and it's very high performance. So clean it, take it apart if you have to, clean it up. I know some of you guys are lazy and don't like to do that, but hey, that's why I've had this brush for over 3 years and it's lasted me this long. And it's not the top high end for my Wada, but a very basic and very introductory type of airbrush, and it's by far it exceeded my expectations. And that's just because of daily maintenance, and every time I use it, I break it down and I clean it really well. And be careful when placing down your airbrush. Before, I used to just place it out of nowhere, and it would pretty much it will, when the nozzle cap is exposed, you will dent it. It's really fragile. It will get dent, and it will no longer be useful after that, and you will have to get a replacement. Now, the replacement needle and the nozzle on this airbrush is fairly inexpensive. It's probably somewhere around 10 to 20 bucks per piece. So thankfully, it's not that expensive. And if indeed I drop my airbrush and I break it, I can go out and get a replacement nozzle, no problem. Now it's time for the good part. This is the pretty much the second to final last stage. I still, after this stage then is gloss, but this is the final color. And let's go ahead and check this out. I've already reduced it. Now candies are 2 to 1, so that's 200% paint to 1% reducer. So if you go on House of Colors website, they'll give you all the technical data for the paint, and basically that's what you need to do, is figure out what it takes in order to reduce that. If you want to do the reducing yourself, you could also get this pre-reduced. My local paint shop has them pre-reduced for me, so sometimes if I don't want to reduce, so I don't have any reducer, I just get the ones that are already pre-reduced, so they will reduce it for you and it's ready to spray out of the bottle. In this case, my little bottle, it was the full candy concentrate, so I did reduce it myself, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply it, and it looks like it's ready to go. I'm gonna start off with all the little small pieces first, and then go ahead and move on to the body next. And just remember, when spraying candies is a very translucent type of paint. Okay, it's not a solid paint. Be cautious when spraying it and applying the very light mist coats at the beginning. Now, depending on how dark of a candy you want it, you start off light at the beginning and then work your way up. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a couple light mists first, just so I can see how dark this purple can go. And if I want it light, or if I want it dark. If I want it dark, I keep going, and you keep adding more. But if you want it light, you do just a couple mists. So for me, this purple shade is looking pretty good for me. It looks like that's the kind of purple I want to end up with. So then I move on to the next piece, and I replicate the same spray pattern that I did with that piece. You need to remember what kind of translucent candy purple that you want, and remember to kind of match with the body color, because the body is probably the last piece. But just remember where you left off, how many coats you did, and try not to overdo it, because if you add medium coats to your other pieces and then to your body you add heavy coats, the color pretty much is not gonna match. So just keep that in mind. Now you can really choose. There's a lot of different candy colors out there, guys. Do your research. There's so many beautiful colors out there. I have a lot of them actually. There's like oranges, reds, greens, to root beers, to purples and pinks. There's just so many great looking colors out there. I highly recommend you guys get out there and try different colors. Something that that pops and just gives a different finish to your model. You're definitely gonna like it, and it's gonna be a great investment, and it's gonna be worth it to me. At the end of the day, I like looking at these and I'm like, wow, this looks amazing. It looks really, really good. Oh, dude, this color is looking so good. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Should I do more candy colors or just base colors? I mean, what do you guys like, base or candy? And now, this is still not even done yet. I'm still gonna apply rainbow flake. Now it's optional, it's not necessary, but for the guys who like flakes and give it that nice bling in the sun, so when you take your subject out to the sun, it pops with flakes. Bro, that looks so fire. So I'm thinking for this one, I'm gonna do like a rainbow type flake. So in the next video, I definitely will show you how to add the flake, what kind of flakes, what sizes flakes you could use on this specific airbrush, because they come in all different sizes. So you don't want to get the wrong flake with your type of airbrush that you have. It will not flow through, it will get stuck. That looks pretty good to me. That center console is gonna look so good. Don't forget, I'm painting the whole thing, but I'm gonna cover it with carbon fiber accents at the end. So stick around so you guys can see that in the next episode as well. Now I'm adding the same candy to pretty much all my suspension parts, and that's gonna look really well. I really like when you know some people take the suspension parts and they match them to the theme of their car, and it just makes it pop. I think this is gonna look great. So I'm thinking maybe the suspension parts purple, maybe the struts like a dark blue, and maybe the calipers. So the color of the body is going to be the candy purple, right? So what would match with that? So I'm always thinking about these things. So maybe like a teal blue, a teal green, a red calipers, black calipers, just so many options. Man, that's going to look so good with flake. And the cool part is that once you put the chassis and pretty much the wheels and everything together, you'll be able to see like purple accents coming out of maybe through your wheels or through the exhaust exit, and you're gonna look at it and be like, whoa, that looks sick. That looks so dope, because sometimes some of these little parts, they pop out and you can see that, and man, I'm just blown away. Like I said, just get good coverage. Make sure you don't waste your paint, but make sure you paint all throughout the whole thing. Just paint it evenly, and just take a look at it twice, 3 times. Make sure that it's all been covered up. You don't see any silver base in the bottom, and get the consistency that you want. Get the rich, deep purple that you want. And in this case, I am just going back and forth, making sure it's coming out just the way that I want it, the way that I like it, not too dark and not too light. can kind of hear my airbrush in the background, airbrush compressor. It just keeps going off. It's one of those really old style compressors. I don't have an Iwata compressor. That's the next thing I'm gonna be looking into getting. So mine's is kind of loud, and I know there's some compressors that are really low, quiet. But to me, since I live in a house, it doesn't really bother me, and it's not that loud, so it doesn't disturb like neighbors or whatever. But it works just perfectly fine for myself. Man, this is gonna look so sick once it's done, guys. I can't wait until we add the flake, we add the gloss, we polish it up. So many goodies up ahead, so many steps, but it's worth it. In the end, it's gonna look so good. I hope you guys take your time and finally get to build, you know, the car of your dreams, or the paint that you've always wanted to try out. This is it right here. Take notes, you know, hopefully you can apply this to your skills and you guys get better at your paint jobs. This is what it's all about right here. I'm just gonna add a little bit more. It looks like I just ran out of my candy. Refill it and continue right where you left off, and just keep applying the same amount, or until you reach your desired shade of candy that you want. Just back and forth, sideways strokes, no up and down. I usually like to go sideways, so also pay close attention to how I paint that. You kind of want a simple, straightforward pattern. You don't want crisscrosses or, you know, going sideways and then you go upwards. It just, to me, it's just not gonna look good. Just try to stick in the one same pattern all the time, all the way through. It's starting to look really good, and then I'm getting really close to the shade of purple that I want. Like I said, guys, you can do a light or a very dark translucent candy color, that whatever candy color that you want to work with. You know, you can take it to the next level of dark, or just keep it light and simple. I like to be somewhere in between, like in the middle. So basically, when you look at the candy samples, when you go to your paint store, they'll show you pretty much all the shades of colors that they have. I like to stick within that range of what they painted it with. Oh man, this is looking so good. I can't wait to match also the wheels, you know, like what color should the wheels be? Like, should I add flake to the wheels? Make it pop even more, make it look crazy, you know what I mean? So I'm still deciding on the wheels yet. I still haven't finalized my wheels. I had a few couple runner-ups, but I'm still going through my wheels list and see what would definitely go good with this project. Maybe some work wheels, I don't know. So I kind of want that two-tone, maybe chrome lips with a black inner face, but we'll see when we get there. I'll start matching it up. So once this whole body is done with the flake and the gloss, then I'll start matching it up with the wheels and see where we're at. It's looking pretty good for me right here, guys. I don't know about you, but man, this is amazing. Just very beautiful. The way this turned out is looking pretty good. So we're almost halfway there to completing this kit. It's gonna look so good. Just wow, take a look at that, man. I look so good, bro. Wow, that looks amazing. So in the next video, we're gonna cover the flake and also the gloss. All right, guys, Thank you so much for the 1,000 subscribers. We hit that mark. Without you guys, that wouldn't have been possible. So, without further ado, this is the surprise gift package from myself. And then we're going to go ahead and pick the winner. I've compiled a list of everybody who's subscribed within the last couple of videos. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and see who is going to be the winner of the Toyota Pandem A90 giveaway. Let's check this out. And congrats to the winner. And let's spin the wheel. All right, we got a winner. Eagle Builds. Okay, I know this guy. All right, congratulations, man. Ryan, yeah, he's the winner. All right, it could not have gone better to a really cool close modeler friend of mine. So for sure, Ryan, congrats, bro. So yeah, you know the deal. Just hit me up, shoot me a message. You can shoot me a DM on my Instagram. Give me your mailing address, and then I'll go ahead and shoot this package over to you. Congrats, bro. Well deserved.